You know you're playing a bad game when you actually say to yourself, man, this isn't anywhere near as good as Remington Super Slam Hunting. I mean, that's where I was today. A place so despondent, so bleak, and so void of hope that those words actually trickled out of my mouth, which was a gape from potentially irreversible emotional numbness. This is CABELA'S Monster Buck Hunter. And sometimes games just speak for themselves. Released in 2010 exclusively for the Nintendo Wii, Monster Buck Hunter is a hunting game, surprise surprise. Now it has a few different modes, but the bulk of the game comes from two main portions. There's a standard arcade-like mode that plays out like every other on-rails Wii shooter, and then there's a career hunting mode. Career hunting, a job that's as ridiculous as writing about video games for a living. Since the latter is even worse, let's start with the on-rails mode. If you veer off the beaten path on Wii, or have played any of the multitude of cheap games that scar its reputation, you've probably seen 100 games that look just like this mode, and chances are, most of them played a lot better too. Oh, come on, we've done this like 100 times before. By now, you should know the drill. The game takes you through 12 shooting galleries, each one based on real locations within Mother Nature's bosom. The only difference is Mother Nature has a spectacular and breathtaking bosom. These levels, these are like what great-grandmother Nature's bosom is probably like. Suffice to say, not a pretty sight. So the game's as ugly as sin, but to me, it kind of makes sense. I mean, look at it this way. The graphics are capturing the spirit, nay, the very essence of the act of shooting animals in the face with high-powered weaponry. Ah, freedom. Although the game is a low-poly, low-res mess with a frame rate that drops the ball as convincingly as Bill Buckner, Monster Buck Hunt at least plays well. It supports plenty of silly plastic attachments like the Top Shot Elite and the Wii Zapper, but since I prefer to play games without using ridiculous wastes of money and resources, I used the traditional remote and nunchuck combination. And the good news is, the controls are fine. It's always worth repeating how much more accuracy you gain from pointing, but it's a huge step above analog sticks, it really is. The bad news, though, is that the gameplay kinda sucks. In the on-rails mode, you keep shooting until time's up, and although there are some power-ups to pick up along the way, it gets really repetitive really quickly. Now, things are slightly more interesting in the career mode, which gives you control over your movement and basically plays like a first-person shooter, but even then, it's split into these short little objectives that just aren't very deep, let alone enjoyable. And in both modes, the game is really generous with your aiming. There were several times that I overshot or undershot or missed completely, and yet the deer fell to the ground in a helpless heap of flesh and fur. Now, that's what nature's all about. The separate modes, power-ups, and gun swapping are nice additions, but they're also things you get in almost every other light gun game on Wii. They do very little to set this one apart, and the clunky gameplay, horrible graphics, and embarrassing presentation, they really don't help matters. So unless you're a CABELA'S collector, Monster Buck Hunter is a game to leave in the bargain bin.
On today.